And I just want to tell you and share with you that I checked with Diane Corey, and I do not have to read that 1-minute dissertation anymore. So we're going to have, there's an extra 2 minutes we have to devote to the meeting itself. But I do have to still remind everybody that it is an open meeting. I don't have to, but I always do. And that we must abide by the laws and the open meeting laws. And that brings us to, we do have a quorum. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And we always do announcements, but I am going to kick off the announcements with officially welcoming Gary Wilson to our group.
Thank you.
We're very excited to have you with us, David. Gary. I can't get my name straight, but welcome.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks.
And do board members have any other announcements before I continue? Yes, Maureen.
So, in June, my term is up. And
Yes, it is.
after much thought and thinking, I have decided that it's time for me to move on and for someone else to have a chance to be on the board. So I will not be reapplying for my position on the board.
Oh, that's sad. That's too bad. We'll miss you.
It's not because of me, is it, Maureen?
No, Gary, it's not.
Oh, Maureen, I think, Maureen, you've served 6 years, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, we will miss you. And my
And I will
goodness,
miss all of you, but it's time.
and the Affordable Housing Trust will miss you too, because you're our representative on that trust. So, oh my goodness. And speaking of that, just to update the board, if I'll take a second here, 3 people's terms are expiring this year. Maureen's is one, mine is another one. I have reapplied. And Wendy Samarco is the third person whose term is up. I have not heard from Wendy, so, but that's the situation that we are in. And thank you for sharing in a way, Maureen, although that's not good news, but at least the board knows what's going on. So I appreciate that. You've always been forthright as a member and very attentive to the needs of the board. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And you will be missed. But I'll see you still. You're going to stay in knitting group and things, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah.
That's good. So always some good with everything if we look for it. So, all right. Any other announcements from the board? I have a couple of others, but
Well,
nope.
Yes,
Yes,
I'll just
go
step
ahead.
in and say that for the May grab and go that we're doing on Wednesday, we needed live pansies. And I went over to Springdale Farm and spoke with Jamie, and she just was so excited about us being outside that she donated a whole station wagon full of pansies for the
Oh,
Wednesday. So I would just like to say thank you from me and from the Council on Aging Board, and just hope that people go over and say hi, see her new shop, and, buy something. It's just, she's so generous
She is.
and really appreciated.
she is a strong supporter of seniors in town. There's no question about that. And thank you for sharing that, Anita. And I'm going to piggyback right on you, because I was going to remind seniors that tomorrow is the first day for the senior box pickup program that she runs every year. And if you have not done it and you're hearing about it for the first time, she runs a program where you can go, generally it's on Tuesdays every week. And she gives you, for $15, you get a bag full of food, fresh farm food for most of it. Sometimes it's even frozen meat. It depends on what she has and what she puts in the bag. And you have no choice over that. But she guarantees that the $15 bag, it has at least $20 worth of food in it each week. It's a wonderful program, and I know a lot of seniors have participated. You get a card, they keep it, and every time you go, they click a date, and after 12 bags that you've bought, you get a free week free. So I assume she's doing the same procedure this year. I have not checked on that, but she's done it that way for several years now. So I would encourage people to support her and take advantage of it. It's a great program.
Do you know what time pickup is?
No, I don't have that. She usually sends a message out. It historically has been generally in the morning, but I'm not 100% sure. So I would just swing in, and they'll probably acknowledge it anyway, if you go over. So,
Oh,
yes, Ashley knows something.
My understanding is that pickup is on Tuesdays from 9 to 12.
Okay, I thought it was in the morning. Thank you about that. Thank you kindly. I'm gonna go, so I wanted to know for sure myself. Okay, and the other thing is, I just wanted to let our viewers know and call their attention to the Elder and Human Services / Council on Aging Highlights LCTV show this month, the month of May. We have already, they have already done the regular monthly show. Anita and Susan had done a second show already, a special show featuring Maren Toohill, our planning, our town planner. I couldn't find her right title. And Matthew Nordhaus, our select board representative, who is our liaison to the select board, and he's with us today. So, oh, sorry, I can't mute my landline, so I apologize. I'll sit on it here. So, anyway, I do not know the exact times that the shows are going to be shown on cable, but you can always go on the town website under LCTV and see it there. So pay attention there. It's a wealth of good information, generally about the senior center project, about the planning board changes and, warrant articles, etc. So I just would like to get the word out about that because it's a great way to get information.
Just to add on to that, Marge, on
Yep.
March 19th, May 19th, the highlight show is going to have another special at 11 a.m. and Marge is going to co-host it with me. And we are going to be having a conversation and interview with Anthony, and he's going to talk about the senior center project.
Great. Thanks for adding that, Anita. Okay. And almost lastly, I want to remind people about the select board meeting tonight at 6:30. They will be finalizing the warrant articles for town meeting by final numbers and clarifying one of the warrant articles that we're going to be talking about later in our meeting. And finally, there's an error on your agenda. If you look down at 6B, it says appoint a nominating committee, and that was an error. We do not need a nominating committee appointed at this meeting. So I just want to clarify that before we get. All right. Any other announcements?
I will just mention that I'm going to be out of town for a week starting tomorrow night. I'm traveling to a graduation in Missouri, so I'll still have my phone and everything. It's just if there were, I know there's a meeting tomorrow night that I'll probably be chiming in from the road. The Affordable House, I think, Trust is tomorrow night. But that's the only thing. Just to let everybody know if there was, I wouldn't be available in person for anything. That's all.
Wow, you're dedicated. You're going to be even chiming in while you're out on the road, Gary.
It's a long drive.
Thanks for sharing that with us. All right. If there are no other announcements, I'm going to ask the board for their indulgence because we have a special guest with us today and she's here and she's pretty busy. So I'm asking if we can switch the agenda a little and move Diane Corey up to now, so that we're not tying her up any longer than we have to. She was gracious enough to agree to come on and to be able to give us information about seniors and accommodations for town meeting. So how does the board feel about that?
I'm with me.
Good.
Okay, great. Thank you all. I appreciate that. So welcome, Diane. And thank you so much for giving us the time, because it's, we know you're out straight all the time, and you just got through that wonderful election. There were so many people that came out. We were commenting on that.
Yeah, it was a great day, and I was very happy with the numbers and glad that people found it important enough to come out. But thank you for having me today, and for finding it important to for the seniors for the June 12th town meeting. So basically, we are going to be doing exactly the same that we have done in the past at Alumni Field, in which we are putting that entire first row of parking along the fence. It will be the first 5 or 6 positions will be for handicapped personnel, people that are coming. I think there's only 4 rows that are actually marked right now, and so we're going to be putting an additional 4 or 5 spots for handicapped persons. So know that anybody that is out there that are nervous about coming, that they're not going to have a spot, we are going to be putting extra spots for you. Additionally, the entire row will be marked that will state senior parking only. We did it the last 2 times and nobody took us up on it. So, we try to accommodate our seniors as best as possible. So there will be markers that are there that say right on it, senior parking only. So please, please, please put the word out that we are making as much accommodations for seniors as possible. If somebody has anything else that you think is necessary, we'll do whatever we can to make it easy parking for the seniors as possible. So if you have another idea that's out there, let me know, and we'll accommodate the seniors as much as possible. As well, when you get into the seating, we have 50 special spots for the seniors right up the very front, so that you can read the monitors, so that you can hear the speakers better. That's right up the very front. There's 50 spots. Again, the only person that took us up on it was George Sanders the last 2 times. He always knows what's out there. And he sat up there. He thought it was great. He could read the monitors, hear what was going on, and get right up and be able to speak. So, that's what we've been doing. That's what we're going to continue to do. And, we want, the seniors to attend these meetings. And so that's what we're out there to do, to help you out, to help the seniors out, and do what we can to help you. So if you have something else that you think will help them to attend, please let me know, and we'll do it.
Thank you, Diane. I really appreciate that. And I'm going to share a thought. I mean, at one point was concerned about seniors, like with a walker getting over the turf, and then actually was reminded by somebody it's artificial turf.
Correct.
And so it's not uneven.
No.
And it is much easier to get for terrain for seniors to even walk on, actually. So,
yeah. So when they come in, there's that ramp. You come right down the ramp, and it's less than 15 feet to get to the seats.
Great. That's wonderful. Really, really appreciate that. And I think all of us recognize the fact that I know in general, I attended a conference call last week, and the surrounding towns, we're talking about the fact that it seems hard to get seniors to come out of hibernation right now, that everybody's been hibernating so long that it's, a little bit of an effort. So we're planning on keeping on getting the word out if we can, in articles in the, Action Unlimited and things of that nature, to get seniors to come out. It's an important town meeting for them, so.
And the seats are, socially distanced. There's plenty of room in between them. So, that we don't want you to be concerned. We have all of those things. We've taken everything into consideration to make you all safe. We're outside, so that's not shouldn't be a concern of anyone's.
And it starts at 9. Is it 9 o'clock in the
9
morning?
o'clock, yes. Yeah.
So people can get there a little early, make sure they have plenty of time to get in and get comfortable.
Yeah.
Great.
And we'll have water there for you. So if you don't be concerned about dehydrating, we'll have a runner to grab your water if you don't want to get up from your seat. We'll go grab it for you.
Wow, that's special treatment, I think. So, all right. Board members, any questions for Diane?
I had one, if I may, Madam Chair. Diane, has there ever been any discussion about taking advantage of that golf cart that the schools have potentially to shuttle those that are really have difficulty getting?
No, but I'm sure we could do it because we do use the golf cart when we are setting up, to bring the tables over to set the tables up. So I'm sure that we could put it out there if somebody felt the need that, to get there.
Yeah, I think we could probably get volunteers easily to help if we needed a driver just to go back and forth with that.
Sure.
It's a great idea, Gary. Thank you for bringing that up. And Ashley, can we say to people that they could call Ashley's office and then we could make arrangements? Is that
So the
okay,
thing-
Ashley?
If we could actually, have might be someone that doesn't call it until the last minute, but if we could try and put a deadline to that so that we know if we actually need it, we could probably put it out there, but put the golf cart out, but,
I think just having it available, knowing it's there would help too. If somebody just needed needed that ride for whatever, 100 yards, that can be a big distance. I know for some people.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It can be. And that would be a great thing. Well, we can, we need a deadline. I don't know where Ashley is. She must have been taken away for a bit, but we can certainly put that out in any publications we're getting out, Diane. We'll talk to Ashley about that. So-
talk to her. Yep.
Okay, great. That's wonderful. Great idea. So I think, if we can, that is a problem. People do have limited, I know, personally, I've noticed that just the fact that walking, having not done as much walking and being, contained in my home, it takes its effect quickly on an older person. So, yep,
Absolutely.
yep. Thank you.
Great idea, Gary.
Wonderful. Okay. Any other questions for Diane? If not, Diane, again, thank you ever so much for taking the time. And thank you, board, for letting me move her to the front so she's
Yes.
not sitting and waiting. So,
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You
Yep.
as well.
Bye-bye.
yes. Bye-bye. Okay. That's wonderful news. So we will go back on the agenda now. Thank you. And to number 3, to accept the minutes of the April 12th meeting. Oh dear, it just dawned on me. Maureen just announced she's not staying on the board and she's our clerk. Wow. Keep that in mind, board members.
Keep it in mind.
Keep it in mind. I hope it wasn't being clerk that drove you away. So you've done a great job. You really have. So, okay, on to the minutes. They were in your packet, so have everyone's read them.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as written for April 12th.
Okay, do we have a second on that?
I second that.
I think that was David. Did I hear?
Sure. Yep.
Okay, thank you, David. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote on the minutes. It's been moved and seconded that we accept the minutes of the April 12th meeting. We'll start with David.
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Gary, you weren't here, but you're welcome to vote on the minutes.
It looked really good, but I was not a member as of that.
I know. I didn't want you to feel left out, though.
Thanks.
Ann Lee,
Aye.
Anita,
Aye.
thank you. Susan,
Aye.
Maureen,
I,
Marge. I have not seen Wendy and I don't know if I've missed her. Wendy, if you're there, and I missed you. All right. Okay, moving on. Thank you. The minutes have been accepted and will be submitted to get posted. Thank you very much. Okay,
she's not there.
I haven't seen her either
No,
yet.
she's not there.
Okay. So do we have someone in the audience from the Friends? Your Friends report? And I'm not sure.
Yes, Marge. Nancy?
Yes.
Levine? is
Okay,
present.
can you,
Hi.
great. Nancy, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Oh, there you are. Good to see you. What's
I was
going
trying-
on?
I was trying to talk to Diane Crory because I had some questions. Maybe you guys can answer. What about porta potties, the available of porta potties for the handicapped?
Oh, I don't know. I never thought about that either.
There are
You-
porta potties there, but out in the parking lot.
Well,
Are they
maybe
for the
that,
handicapped too?
Well, no, I
No.
don't.
The bathrooms are accessible, correct?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
accessible.
so even if they
Yeah.
needed a little help, maybe, if we know that too, then we would, you could plan. Ashley, were you with us when we were talking about that? You were, okay.
And also, what about the hearing impaired?
That's a good question. Ashley's shaking her head. Does she know? I don't know if she has any information on that. They've always had them, and the visual, the hearing and the visual, they've always had the prompter with the words. I didn't think to ask Diane about that. Good question.
She said it would be there.
The only question would be, if it's bright sun, would you be able to see the text on the teleprompter?
I can answer that, actually.
Oh, good.
The last two meetings that have been at the alumni field, they've had a large screen with the captions on it, and it's been covered with a tent with chairs set up inside the tent so that anyone who really needed to read could sit inside and it would be dark enough to read.
Ah,
Oh,
okay.
thank you, Matthew.
Boy, that's really planning. I'm going to say that's really good planning. So, yes, thank you, ma'am.
And now going to the Friends Board. I'm sorry, I have to wish Maureen a happy birthday.
Thank you.
And I want to say, I'm so glad you finally got your hair cut. The Friends are doing fine. As you know, that we sent out our funding letters. And the percentage wise, I'm disappointed in. The businesses have contributed maybe 2.5% of the total number of businesses sent. And I thought it would be higher than that. Mark, do you have a clue as to what it should be or usually is?
I have no idea what we got from the businesses for the library project, but I would say that my guess is that a large percentage of the donations were from individuals, not businesses.
Okay, all right. And so we've made more than we've ever made before. We've passed $10,000. And the expenses were not near that much. So we're in the black. So that's all good news. And we're still getting some in. I mean, we did this in March and April. So we still might get more. And we're going to be working with Ashley on seeing if we can come up with some sort of lunch program to see what we decided not to do anything for the volunteers for May. It's still too soon, even though we've always done one for the volunteers in May, but COVID took care of that. and this year it still just doesn't seem to be right. But we'll be talking to Ashley and see what we can come up with. If not for volunteers, for just having one. So much depends on how much the town is going to open up, particularly in the courtyard area. But parking is going to be a problem, I'm guessing. So stay tuned. And that's all I have.
Well, that's exciting about your donations. So that's a good thing that you have more than you have ever had before.
Yes.
So,
Any questions?
I have a question. What, the donations, what are they earmarked for? What's the plan for the money that was raised?
Oh, to put towards a senior center.
So with the Friends of the Library, the way we set it up was that there was a fund associated with the town. There was, the town controlled the library has an account with the town where all the money raised, for the library has been deposited. Is that the plan for this money too then, or?
I don't think we have anything set up with the town yet, but we will be.
Okay.
there is an account already set up by the town for money to go into, just specified only for the senior center. For
Yeah.
all donations to go in there. So it's already in existence to be, and it, you know, because, and then, I mean, it would be a matter of record because you would know how much the friends put in if you were wanting to keep track of that. So. Yeah, that
Right.
account was opened up a couple of years ago now. So,
Thanks, Marge.
any other questions for Nancy? I think, you know, they have,
There is.
I have a
question.
quick question, Marge.
wait, okay, can David speak first? He started, and then we'll go to Ashley.
I
Okay.
was gonna say Ashley had a question.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, David. I appreciate that. Nice intro.
Okay.
No, I just wanted to also highlight the Friends program for the flowers for seniors. So I didn't know, Nancy, if you wanted to highlight that at all as well.
You took the
Well,
words
thank
out of
you.
my mouth. Yes.
Oh, thank you, Ashley. They've delivered over 600 so far.
I
And
don't know that all the board members know about this program. Maybe you could explain it. And maybe some people that are viewing the show don't know about it either. So,
Sharon Corbin is a member of the Friends, but she came up with this fabulous idea that she had no idea would blossom. Notice the word blossom as it has. She contacted Donlands with their permission to advertise through them. Instead of throwing away their flowers, they would give them to her on a scheduled basis. And she, in the beginning, did this all by herself. She would arrange the flowers in teacups and would bring them to some senior citizens. And then the Friends, she let the board know what she was doing, and we were, holy cow, Sharon, you're amazing. And so the board helped, the garden club helped. We've run out of teacups and we could use more. Maureen did give some, and it just keeps going on. And so many people have volunteered, so many, to deliver, to donate teacups, to donate small vases. Some people misunderstood and they contributed these giant vases. So, no, these little cupcakes, not cupcakes, teacups. I notified the Lowell Sun, and I had a picture of Sharon and who delivered flowers to Barbara Cam with a short story, and it made the front page of the Lowell Sun.
Oh, nice.
They were thrilled. The reporter brought it to the editor, and the editor made a big story out of it, which was wonderful. And we have gotten so many thank you notes, phone calls, emails, donations of money, which was not intended at the time or even now. It was just for giving something to a senior for absolutely no reason. And it's being done for women and men.
And over 600 have been distributed
Yes.
already.
Yes.
As I understand it too, some of the people that you've donated or taken the flowers to have donated their time to put arrangements together for other people now. So
Oh.
it has become quite a social event in a way.
Yes, it has. I don't know if it's going to continue for the summer or not because so many volunteers go away and so do the seniors.
Yeah. But it certainly was a very, it did mushroom. It started out as a very thoughtful idea. Yeah.
In a very, very good, positive way.
Oh, yes. Yep.
That's great. And thank you, Sharon.
And Nancy, just so
Yeah.
you know, you can let Sharon know, on Wednesday at my craft class, Sue Hoke is going to bring me a box of teacups and small vases to donate to Sharon for the project.
Oh, my goodness.
I got a call this morning, so she'll be dropping stuff off on Wednesday to me, and I'll make sure Sharon gets them all.
Okay, which class is this going to be?
It's my May basket craft class out on the patio.
Okay, I think that's the one I signed up for.
Okay, we'll see you then.
Yes, we'll see you then.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you. And thanks to Sharon Corbin for the great idea and all the work that she's put into it. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
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 But it does bring, I was the recipient of one of her little vases, little teacups, and it certainly brought so much cheer. It's just a cheery, happy thing to have somebody come and just hand you these pretty flowers. So it's a great idea. Good job, friends. We have a great friends group in town. So, any other questions for Nancy?
I had one, Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Nancy, it's Gary Wilson, and nice to meet you. I did have a question, and this might already be answered. I'm just kind of new at this. Does the Friends, when a donation comes in, is there an option to donate specifically for the construction of a senior center, or is it just a generic donation to the Friends? Or are there, you know what I mean?
It depends on the donation. Right now, donations coming in through the funding is going all to the new senior center.
Okay.
Other times, donations come in specifying where they want it to go.
Okay.
If it's not specified, then it goes towards the new senior center.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions for Nancy? Thanks for being with us, Nancy, and sharing all that good news. So it really is good news. Okay. So we're moving right along on the agenda, unless there's another question for her at the last minute. Okey doke. So it brings us down to new business on the agenda. And Diane, we've already heard from. We are deleting B, appoint nominating committee. And because, I'll explain, we eliminated that. For some reason, I had it in my head. But when I really thought about it, I realized, wait a minute, we don't have a nominating committee, and we are electing officers at our June meeting, mainly by people being nominated at the time of the meeting. And that worked fine last year, and that's when we made the change. So, but the agenda was already typed and on its way to being posted, and I thought it was fine to let it get posted, and then I would explain why I was deleting it. And that's why, because we changed our rules and regs regarding that. So, okay, on to the business of the meeting really, which could take some time, and it's to help us be prepared for town meeting. This will be our last meeting unless we have to call a special meeting to come to a decision as to the board's position on the warrant articles that are affecting seniors this year at town meeting. And with that in mind, I sent out to you some work that Susan Miranda did for the board, summarizing the town meeting warrant articles that our seniors are involved with. And so you all have that. In addition to that, keep in mind that we have the visioning subcommittee whose purpose is to promote and advocate for a new senior center. And they have met and come up with their consensus and their thoughts and recommendations to the board as to maybe how the board might proceed on that those are articles. And then we have the housing subcommittee also, who has come up with a statement just to kick things off in those two areas. Now, there are other articles here that are listed that we need to talk about, but they're not quite as involved as the senior center project and the housing issues. So could I suggest that maybe we start with the senior center project? And Mark, do you have anything you would, as chair of that visioning subcommittee, you would like to share with the board about that?
So the visioning committee met last week, discussing the senior center. I think the general consensus is obviously we want a new senior center. There's concerns about whether it fits on that site or not, just because of the work that still needs to proceed. What am I missing? Anyone want to help fill in?
Well, we had a big concern about parking
Yes.
on the site. That was one of the things that we discussed. And wanted to make sure that when this feasibility study is done, that is one of the top priorities that they look into. If the senior center does go on the Shattuck Street site, what are they going to do about parking? And we discussed like 100 people when you have lunch, if you're going to have luncheons and things like that in a normal working day when the town hall is operating, you need a lot of spaces.
Right. Okay, any other?
There was also some concerns that the process hadn't been vetted through the other departments like Park and Rec, and that would be influenced or affected by construction there, right? It hadn't been presented to the planning board, so we don't know what the parking requirements would be and things like that. So David had his hand up.
Yeah, question for Mark. Do you offhand, I might have seen it, but I don't remember. The positioning of that building, is that like down in the corner before you go over the hill, down where the trailers are and all that stuff?
It's actually, no. If you actually look at it on the plan, it is going down the hill, right? It's really hard to tell from the LLB sketches, but it looks like most of the parking there is still preserved and the building is actually taking the hill. So it's really hard to say because the sketches are so rough, but it really looks like it's behind the existing parking structure and along where those sheds and things are now. Which another concern is how close that actually is to the neighbor's property line, which I don't know if anyone's looked at either. Because there's a fence right up there behind that. So right. I assume there's a lot more work to situate the building and figure out what's best and how to make it work with parking and things. But the pictures look like it's shifted behind the existing parking structure for the most part.
Okay. So is it actually mimicking the library, so to speak, where the front?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It won't. Yes, but it won't stick as far back as the library, because it's an L-shaped building that's it's going around the existing parking structure basically.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions and thoughts about that? So, yes, Matthew.
I think, excuse me, I think all of these questions about parking and about how it's going to impact Park and Rec and the property lines are excellent ones. And asking them now is putting the cart before the horse a little bit. I mean, this is exactly what the $80,000, which we're transferring, is going to be used to address, to do the sort of examination of the design and the site and what's feasible to answer all those questions. And I'm certain that parking will be an issue that's raised to the architects. If it's not, I will raise it. And if I don't, you will raise it. And they will have to listen to us because, we are their clients. These aren't, like, I'm not trying to dismiss the concerns, but the process is what it is. And we haven't even really started to look at any of these problems yet. And actually, then the last thing, I don't know if it's true, Mark, is the neighbor, the Hager Homestead, is that the next property over?
Yes.
So it could be that that's not an issue given that we are developing there. And I believe everything to the, Shattuck Street side of the current building is going to be open space and walking trails. And I understand we don't own it, but that seems like something that could be worked out if there's.
Whoops. We lost a connection.
He froze.
Yep. Matthew, you've frozen, if you can hear me.
Yep,
There he
sorry,
is.
I froze. That was me.
Yep, that's okay. Well, you're back.
Okay.
Matthew, I agree with you that that's the point of the feasibility study. The concern is what happens if we spend the money on the feasibility study and the site comes back is not suitable. What happens with the $1 million? Where do we go from there?
I think
the concern.
Yeah, I think that the point of the feasibility study isn't to say yes or no to a senior center. It's to say what's the best option going forward. And if we can't find a design that works in any way at Shattuck Street, then we can look at the DCU building or Indian Hill, which are less desirable, I think, from a sort of long-term maintenance and financial point of view. But there's nothing saying we can't do it. And so I think that the charge of the architects is to find us the best solution that exists.
Okay.
If I think, if I may, Madam Chair, Matthew, I think it also, the way that the article is written does speak to that. So money not being used specifically for that site, it's generalized to a senior center design and then follow on construction, I believe. So actually, I know, Mark, that was one of the hangups we had when we did the library, right? The design money, we didn't kind of put the wording right. So it couldn't be used until we had another town vote. But this one was written from our learning from Matt, where we could utilize it for both. And it's much more general.
Right.
No,
So go ahead, Mark.
So it's more a concern is if you use the money on the feasibility study and you find out that the site isn't feasible, right? That if it's going to cost $80,000 to determine that whether or not you can build on the Shattuck Street site, and it turns out you can't, where do you go from there, right? Because you have potentially the design funds that said you were planning on building on that site. Presumably, the design article isn't tied to a specific location, but where do you come from the funds to restart the feasibility study, right, for somewhere else? Because $80,000 for a feasibility study for that site is probably cutting it pretty close if that site isn't feasible, right? To find another site, I don't know where the money's going to come from and how we're trying to combine two different processes into one step, and I don't know how that's going to end up playing out, right? If Shattuck Street if that site works, then we're fine. But if it doesn't work, I don't know what happens. That's the concern.
Yeah. Yep.
So Somebody have their hand up, David? No? So the wording on that, borrow the $1 million for the purpose, I think this is on Susan's paper, the quote, for the purpose of funding the design services for the new senior center. It does not say where that would be. So now I don't know the answer to this question, but Matthew or one of you, Gary, Mark, you might. So could that $1 million be used to looking to what it would actually cost to renovate a building? But you'd have to, there's a purchase cost involved. Say Matthew mentioned Indian Hill and DCU building, but there's a purchase cost involved in that whole thing. So what happens there? Yeah. How does that all play out?
You determine the budget of the whole project, and then you move forward with it.
Okay.
I can't answer the specific question. I don't know. Maybe Gary can, about whether that $1 million can be used to continue the feasibility study if LLB runs out of money and determines that the Shattuck Street, the new construction isn't viable.
Yeah, it can't.
Okay.
So that $80,000 was already used for a feasibility study. So we're actually, it's actually number 2, I think, on that article, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
So we're actually transferring money from that extra money we had in that unspent capital to utilize. Otherwise, this would have been a separate article, I believe, requesting for feasibility study money. So that's what would happen if this whole thing fell through. By fall town meeting, we very well could come back and say we need X amount of money now to look at this piece of land. So this is really leftover money that we're kind of reutilizing.
Okay.
It always has to be difficult, right?
So it is difficult. So what do we think we want to adopt for a statement about the project? Obviously, we support the feasibility study, I would assume. That has to happen for anything else to happen. That is step 1, right? I see Gary shaking his head, so, and Matthew. So, and then dependent upon the results of that,
Do you want it today?
we may have a $1 million, there may be an issue, to be borrowing that money, and that might be appropriate. Otherwise, maybe not. Is that correct?
This is a meeting.
So,
Yeah.
yep,
So
okay.
obviously the $1 million is just the design wherever we
Right.
decide. So.
Yeah. But it's all contingent upon the results of the feasibility study.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, not entirely, because like when we did the library, we were doing design work at a higher level, right? You weren't figuring out exactly where, construction plans, but you had a good design. We had the same building was designed to fit in multiple places, right? So the site we ended up with was a slightly different design since of the slope, but we had the same building. Basically, we could put it on the tennis courts or the Morgan property, right? So you can do some of that design work independent of the feasibility study. But I think for that site, you might be more in a very specific design because of the slope.
okay.
My concern, one of the concerns is if you decide that site isn't feasible, then you're going to have to come back to, it's kind of hard to vote town meeting that we're going to spend $1 million designing a building for a senior center and then say, if it doesn't go there, right, then I think the people are going to want another crack at the vote to say where it does go, right? So that's the hard part from my perspective, right?
Yeah, I think there was a consensus over the last few years, right, of that wanting the campus to kind of remain intact, so to speak. That seemed to be the majority. So I think the question really, when we look at all of this, it is the parking. Because if it can fit there and they can manipulate the land and we can utilize some of the other space, then great. It's a perfect location, but what's our parking look like? And what does the Shattuck Street existing building look like? Are we going to be digging into that front lawn of that building and creating parking spaces? Those are a lot of options that might have to be drawn up.
Are we blowing up part of the building and creating parking spaces?
Yep.
So,
So,
Go ahead, David.
yeah, for anybody that knows, how does the article actually read? Is the $1 million actually tied to that spot? Or is it just say for the purposes of funding design services for senior center? So even if we don't, you can vote to appropriate the $1 million and it just sits there till we find a spot, or is it actually tied to that spot?
It's not, and that's why the language is good in this. I think in the same way the library was, like Mark said, it's really getting into the design of what the senior center needs to look like, the meat and bones of it, the room, the space, all of those things.
Okay.
Little manipulations can be dropped anywhere in Littleton, right? Once we get what we need as a town, what the seniors want, and what that type of thing, it really can, when we're talking little shape changes, I think that it's all part of the same design plan.
Yep.
Yes, it can be, that money can be used to fit any location that we need.
Okay, so to get back, Marge said when we started talking about this, did we need to make a statement of support? Or I don't know anything about a statement. I think all we got to do is say we support it, period. I don't think we need a statement, do we?
I think the COA should be voting on some of these articles that affect the seniors, so that it's on record in the warrant articles that say the COA unanimously or supported this by an X to Y vote. Like the Board of Selectmen are going to take a position on it, and FinCom probably is taking a position, and those votes should be recorded in the warrant that goes to press, whatever.
Right. So what I'm saying is, we don't need to issue a statement. We just vote to support it right now.
Unless the board does not, we're voting on the design of a senior center. Right. So whether it's there or somewhere else, we as a board would have to come to a consensus that we want a design of the senior center, and that's what this money is being spent on. Then we can get into whether we want it there or somewhere else. That's a different argument that we might right. vote say no, we don't think that's a good idea to put it at, I don't know, right. on Foster Street, right?
So all we're doing is we're just going to support Article 10 the way it's written, and we're going to vote up or down.
Yeah,
I think that would be adequate. I agree with Mark's comments and Gary's, and yours, David, too.
Yeah.
I think that would. No, and that I think is important, that we, it be known. I guess that's the best way to say it. And if we didn't have this discussion and don't come to a vote, then it won't be known. So.
Do you need a motion?
If you feel you're ready, anyone else have any thoughts or comments or anything they want to share?
I just have a point. Do you want a motion for, there's two articles for the senior center, one's for the feasibility and one's for the design, right? So we can
either. No, it's one article.
It's one article with both amounts in it? Okay.
Yes, I believe it's going to be, it's one article with both in there. Matthew probably knows more.
That is correct. It's one article.
Yeah.
Right.
It's Article 10. Okay. Right now, it's Article 10 on the warrant.
Okay.
I think, Marge.
I was expecting them separate since one's a borrowing and one's not.
Yes, Maureen.
I think when Anthony spoke last month, he alluded to the fact that if we had them two separate ones, we would have to wait till the next town meeting, and they wanted to be able to just continue on. If the feasibility study worked great, then they wanted to be able to move right on to design.
Correct.
Correct.
I remember.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
He did say that.
That's what I thought he had said.
He did.
And what we are doing is as, you know, what's explained. I think that we are making a statement and just saying so that it can be a matter of record. Mark was saying this, that we support Article 10. And, you know, when it hits the floor, correct me if I'm wrong, but somebody could say they wanted to not have both of those things in that one article. Is that right? Can people ask to have that changed?
They could ask to have it
I don't think so.
amended, and I think the question will probably come up. Why are we doing it this way? It could very well, someone could ask that question. We'd be able to answer, like was just mentioned, that it's because once the design money, we've decided that we can do it, we want to be able to start doing it with that million instead of waiting, right?
Right.
So that's kind of why it was done that way.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
So I don't think in town meeting you can separate the two, that it will have to be one article,
Oh,
right?
okay.
People can change the amounts on either side. They could amend it to, you know, up the feasibility, lower the design, cancel whatever, but it will have to be one vote.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. All right. Are we ready to take a vote?
Madam Chair.
Someone second it?
Whoops, excuse me.
I didn't
Go ahead.
see the first.
It's all right. Go ahead, Maureen. Did you want to say something, Maureen?
I was going to make a motion, but it sounded like Mark was seconding, so I didn't hear the
No,
first.
I thought David made the motion, but I wasn't positive.
I started to make the motion, I got stopped.
Oh, okay.
Did I interrupt you, David?
So,
I'm
yeah,
sorry if I did.
Sort of, yeah.
I'm
So
sorry.
you-
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
That's all right. I would make a motion that the Council on Aging support Article 10 in the town warrant.
All right. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Maureen, thank you. Okay. Take a roll call vote. David,
Aye.
number 10, we're voting on. Mark,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Ann Lee,
Aye.
okay, Anita,
Aye.
Susan,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
and Marge is an aye. All right, it's a unanimous vote. Thank you. Okay. So we've covered Article 10. How would you like to proceed? Do you want to go down the list of articles, the order they're in, or would you like to stay? Do the housing pieces. There's a couple of articles for that. And maybe,
Why don't we just go right down the line?
you want to go right down the line? Okay, it's fine with me. Article 32 is the Littleton Station 40R. Article to establish a smart growth zoning district at 245 Foster Street. And you, I think, probably are familiar with that proposal. So we can open that up for discussion as to how the board wants to proceed on Article 32. And you do have a handout, I think that Patty has joined us. I don't see her picture. She doesn't have her video on and she's muted.
Yeah.
But,
And Sue had her hand up a second ago.
oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see that.
That's
Susan.
okay. That's
Go
all right.
right ahead.
When I put this together last week, that article was written very short. And if you look at the select board's package for tonight, that 40R is a big, long, much more complicated article, but that's the essential piece of it, that it's to establish a 40R overlay district.
A lot of those pages in the packet tonight it's an application to the state with a whole bunch of boilerplate stuff about this and that. There are a few things in there which are relevant, but I think a lot of it is just check boxes and making sure that we have the right, zoning paragraphs. I don't know.
A lot of what's in it is fluff. That's what I
Fluff.
thought.
Fluff.
It's a way to get a broad spectrum of varied housing. That's what Myron told us at our housing meeting last week, or the week before, whenever we had it. I think everybody remembers
that
that.
has their hand raised. I didn't know if it might be regarding the previous discussion.
Excuse me, Amy?
We
Amy?
have an attendee that has their hand raised.
Public input is at the very end of the, on the agenda.
Okay.
So the public will be right, that's when, yep. I'm not recognizing the public in the middle of our discussion, in the middle of our business. Thank you. Yes, Gary.
Sorry, I'm not as comfortable with this article probably as some. I definitely wasn't comfortable before it got a lot of revision, and since I started reading through this, I guess my question is, in general, the benefit of even using the word senior development down there in that part of town, how much benefit is that really to the seniors? It just seems a little bit out of the way. And I really fear that unless we really restrict this, which is very difficult under state law, that it just becomes a whole bunch of apartment complexes putting a whole bunch of people into town to, use our services and everything else so that they can commute into Boston and Waltham. And so I worry, is this helping the current seniors of Littleton? And this is why this article is tough for me. And I'd love to hear everyone else's opinion. I don't know. Something about this article, where the piece of land is located, so far out of the way. I just don't know how it helps Charlie Baker's agenda as far as wanting, affordable housing and everything else pushed out down the railways for sure. And maybe Matthew has a little bit more insight than I do. I'm just looking at it for what it is. And I've always thought that piece of land, though, yes, maybe for affordable housing purposes, maybe for housing, but to think of a senior place there, I don't know. I can't get it in my head that works for our senior population that exists in Littleton right now. That's all. But maybe I'm way off. So.
I don't think you're way off actually, as far as what it represents in terms of how it's built. But I guess there are a few qualifiers I would put in. One is that I think walking distance to the train station does make it, that is a plus, I would say, for someone who doesn't want to drive. Plus, of course, there's going to be the shuttle, the Merrimack Valley Regional Transport is going to be back in business soon. The other thing I will say is, it's going to be developed. This land is going to be developed. And I believe the way this helps the seniors, if nothing else, is it provides for some less expensive housing, whether that's apartment complexes. I believe that the town has the power to make sure that we don't just build 15 4-story 200 apartment buildings. Like we can say to the developer, no, you need to build small cottages around an open green, or you need to build duplexes and what have you. One of the things that I've been looking at on the Affordable Housing Trust is the lack of inexpensive housing in Littleton. And it's not just apartments, it's any small house. So we hope that this adds diversity to the housing. I also agree with you that trying to qualify for official senior housing is very difficult and very restrictive. But my hope is that by adding diversity, that it will serve the seniors and other people in town.
You're right, Mark. That's what Myron emphasized at the housing meeting that you attended. earlier this month. It's not specifically a project for seniors, but seniors benefit quite heavily from it because they're looking to make whatever is built there more affordable. It also benefits seniors who are in probably their original house where they raised their family, and now the family is gone and they're in a big house, but they can't downsize in Littleton because there's nothing that's affordable for them. And this particular project supposedly is going to offer that. It has a lot of issues to it, but it also has a few benefits that would offer the seniors that we do not have right now. That's a comment I have.
And just for the public that's viewing, Patty, Mary Hunt, I just want to let people know that Mary Hunt is the chair of the Council on Aging subcommittee on affordable housing for seniors. Although she is not a board member, she has a lot of experience as a board member. So, and she still remains in that position, and that's why she is speaking right now.
She's a member at large of that board.
That's right. She is member at large. We have, so, and she happens to have been nominated by that board to be the chair. So she is speaking as the chair of that board. So just a point of clarification, people. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay. I probably should have said that. I just forgot.
No, that's okay. But I just didn't want any confusion out there.
Okay.
And, okay, other comments about this? It's a.
Marge, I have a question.
Yes,
I have-
Annie.
My concern about this or any other project is I don't really believe that any housing can be built for seniors that is affordable to them. I mean, you're going to have to look at something that they could buy for $200,000 or $250,000, not $350,000 or $450,000. Seniors are not going to be able to pay for that. And my concern is where it's close to the rail station, it's going to make it real easy for people to commute back and forth to work. But I don't see a whole lot of seniors commuting anywhere on a train. So logistically, I'm not sure if this is the right place to put, quote, senior housing.
Well, I think that's where the apartment building might, people thought or are thinking that it's the apartment building that might be more, provide some affordable units. But anyway.
But when you look at the affordable units down the other side of town, near where the old Bickford's used to be, those apartments, the affordable ones are going for $1,500 a month. So they're not really considered affordable
Right.
for seniors. So I don't know what the answer is. And with the cost of construction and building material going up, I don't see anything that's built going to be very cheap.
One of the things that we have control over as the town, because this is 40R, is we can set a certain percentage of affordable units and also a percentage, a cost, which is based not on building costs, but on percent of the average median income of the area. And so the current goal is 25% of the units are priced at 80% of the AMI, the average median income. That's
Right.
still expensive, I think, by any standards. But again, it's a step in the right direction, given if you look at what the housing availability is now. 350 may not seem like an affordable unit, but it's a lot more affordable than 650. And I hope that we will have some even less expensive than that.
Yeah, I love that we're trying to do something. I think, continuing to address it from a tax point of view as well for seniors is going to be huge. But I picture this almost turning into an Avalon, like in Acton, where how many seniors are there? I don't think any. And I worry about that. I don't know. Something just about that location. We're talking affordable. Once we find out 80% is still more than a senior that's just trying to downsize can afford, we're left with either a bunch of empty buildings that aren't going to remain empty because we're going to put someone in there, and it's just going to add inventory, which isn't a bad thing, like Matthew had mentioned, maybe for diversity and other things, but not necessarily helping the seniors of Littleton. But I'm not going to keep rattling on. I think everybody has opinion on this. I will say I do like the new language much more than the old. But once again, it's just, to me, it's the location and what actually we're trying to address. It helps one problem, I think, with a lower income potentially diversity, but not the senior. Putting the senior upfront planning board, senior residential development, I think to me is a little misleading, but I'll leave it at that.
I agree.
So Marge, can I chime in?
Yes, Mark.
So when this 40R first came on and they were talking about the development there, I thought it was a little silly and I was opposed to it. There's actually a very similar looking project going on Devon's right now called Emerson Green. And if you go over there, the houses actually look really nice and everything. So the idea of the 40R project has grown on me. However, I completely agree with Gary that this isn't the right place for a senior development, and I don't see it actually as benefiting the seniors drastically, and other than potentially having cheaper rental units available. It's not the right location for seniors. It's going to be dominated by families that want to commute into Boston more than the seniors, I think. And it will be a senior development the same way like the Weber property is a senior development, where the idea was seniors will be in there, but in reality, it's families. So I think separating out whether the project is a good or a bad one going forward is from whether it's a senior project. I think putting the senior in there is kind of disingenuous, and the project, I don't know that the project really will end up having an influence much on the seniors. So I'm kind of think I say the same thing Gary did.
Any other comments? Yes, Mary?
Yeah, I don't know about calling a senior residence. It's really Littleton State Village project. And it has to be located near a transportation district. And that's why it's up on Foster Street. It needs to be near a transit, and that's where the train is in Littleton. That's the only reason it's up there. And to emphasize senior community or senior resident, that's like a catchphrase to entice it to be approved almost in a way. But it really is being located there because it's near the transit station. And everybody's right. Our seniors aren't going to get on the train and go to Waltham or Belmont or Boston, most likely. So that's a misnomer. The project excluding the senior resident development is a great project. It does give the option of building varied housing for some people who want to downsize or go to an apartment or a small house, But just because it's going to have a few affordable houses based on AMI and, everything else, I'm not sure it's meeting the need with the description of providing senior housing.
Susan, yes, I see. Susan,
And-
you're muted.
Oh, no, I'm not. Am I?
Oh, okay. All right. I couldn't hear you.
No, that's okay. I'm back.
All right.
The article doesn't say senior,
No,
as far as I know. So it's just asking for that overlay district, which will give affordable housing, and there are limits in there, and I don't have them right at the moment, but they voted on them at the planning board meeting last week. Give affordable housing and give diverse housing. And that's really all that overlay district is asking for. This is something that's going to take years. And I'm not saying I am personally supporting it, thinking, oh, it's going to give us senior housing. No, but it's going to give us something different for town that will give us more diverse, affordable housing. I think we got hung up with thinking seniors in there, and seniors are not necessarily a big portion of that. The only other thing that is a portion that would affect seniors that they talked about at the planning board meeting last Thursday was that part of that district that goes up nearer to the Life Care Center, they're including that land or that piece in it, and Matthew can straighten me out if I'm all wet, so that they will hopefully get the Life Care Center to come into the picture and develop that as assisted living and independent living.
You have it right.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yay. Right now, the Life Care Center has not shown any interest in that, but it doesn't mean that in the future they may not, or a different company comes in or whatever. But that's at least being considered as part of it. That's all.
correct.
Same.
Yes, Mark.
So I agree with all of that. So my question is, if it's not specific to the seniors, should we be, as a COA board, be taking a position on it? I think the Affordable Housing Trust should be taking a position on it, but I would think that the COA board should not. That's my stance on it right now. So.
Yeah, Mark, I think the naming of the article is what really hangs me up. Senior residential development apartment amendments.
No,
That's Article 33.
That's a different article.
Yep. We're talking about the Littleton Station, Article 32 right now.
Right. Article 33 is a whole separate thing.
That has nothing to do with necessarily has any, one isn't dependent on the other, I don't think. David, did you want to say something?
Well, first of all, I want to make it clear that we have not even looked at Article 33, so I don't want to even go there until we're ready for that. So we're speaking strictly about Article 32. And I agree with Mark. I don't think we should take any position on it at all. I think we just remain mute on it.
Okay.
I agree with both of them.
Me too.
Madam Chair, move the question, please.
Me too. I agree. Second that.
Okay. It has been moved and seconded that we take no position on Article 32. Is that correct?
Do we really need to vote not to take a position?
I don't think we need to vote.
I don't
on
think
it.
we do.
No, okay, we're just gonna move it. Move it
'Cause
straight
that would
ahead.
be-
All right, we're moving it off the paper.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, I'm sorry. Shows about my naivety. All right.
I took up way too much time then on that article.
I know. No, but we've already brought up some of the points for Article number 33, I think.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah,
however,
but Gary, you made me think about other stuff that I hadn't thought about in regards to that Article 32. So I thank you for taking your time and dragging that out because there was some good info in there. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Article 33 now, which is the senior residential development / apartments. And that is not necessarily addressing the Littleton Station area and that whole smart growth zoning district issue. So can we move on to that? Let me just remind you, it is 10 minutes of 3, so we need to try to be diligent here.
All right.
So this one does specify seniors. And it talks about zoning by amending the zoning bylaw. So, etc. And it inserts a new defined term regarding a senior apartment. And it amends the definition of independent living units. So, feelings on that?
I think this is a continued effort to, we learned a little bit a few years ago. We voted on some bylaw changes with allowing in-law suites and things like that. This is more of an extension of that from what we learned. And I like a lot of the language in this. This really starts to pinpoint what we're looking for to help our seniors.
Yep.
A lot of work went into this, you can tell. I think the language in this is, we're getting as stringent as we can in the language, right up against the law and what we're allowed to do. And this is really, I think it's a good article, as far as I'm concerned, but there's a lot there.
I read this through a couple of times and I'm ready to vote for it now, so.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I move that we take a position on Article 33.
I'll second that.
All right, been moved and seconded that we take a position on Article 33. Do we know what that position is going to be?
I think she meant support.
In the affirmative.
I think you did.
In the affirmative.
In the affirmative. All right. I was going to say, well, wait a minute here. So, all right. It has been moved and seconded that we support, shall I say? If it's an affirmative decision here, we support Article 33. Am I correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Yes.
And who seconded that?
Mark.
I'm sorry. Mark did. Thank you. Okay. We're doing the roll call vote on Article 33. David?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Ann Lee?
Yes.
Anita?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
And Marge is a yes. We're unanimous. Thank you. And moving on quickly then, I think that this won't take as much discussion time. Article 23, the Senior Citizen and Veterans Tax Work-Off Abatement Programs. And this
I
is
make a
just.
motion.
Oh, yes, go right ahead, David. He's moving. Oh, we're on a roll now.
Come on, David.
No, I make a motion that we support it.
Before we support it, can I ask one question?
We have to have a little discussion, yes.
I just want to know what we voted last year for. What was the number last year?
I believe it was the same. Ashley would know for sure. Yes, she's shaking her head. Is that correct, Ashley?
Correct.
And was the budget for last year large enough?
Well, yes, because we had COVID especially.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's based on a calculation, how many people applied, the minimum wage, and then that's how many hours each participant can work up to an allocated amount of hours.
Yeah.
So we're happy with this number and don't want it increased? Or is this just what we have? If it's not enough, we should be asking for more, but maybe it's too late to be doing that.
Seems to have been enough, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Correct, Ashley? $80,000 has been enough over the year. depends upon, is that this is for this year, correct? This fiscal year that's coming up, the next fiscal year?
21,
FY
22.
Mhm.
22. Mhm.
Yes, that's what it's for. Okay, just want to be sure I was right on that. But it seems to me that has been adequate.
And
And I
Mark,
know-
Mark, just to let you know, when I was working in the town hall in the assessor's office, it used to be $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
And it was brought to town meeting to increase it about 4 years ago to 80.
Yeah.
And
So-
this is also one of those funds that if somewhere throughout the year, if it ran out of money, it would come to the finance committee for a reserve fund transfer, and this would, one of those obviously would be approved. So
Yeah.
I think, I guess just trust John Borowski that he's got the number, got the number right.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Any more questions, Mark, on your end?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Any other questions about this?
Marge, I have one question.
Yes.
And not necessarily about this article, but about the senior citizens work off.
Yes.
In the past, I know that some seniors have been able to go to meetings and take the minutes in the meetings and use that as their work off. And I'm wondering if that is possible now, which would help some of us.
Oh,
Not have to be taking meeting, minutes during the meeting and being able to pay attention.
that's something that, Ashley as the director manages the program and finds the jobs, that, right? Ashley, I'll let you speak to that, but anyway, she can explain it a little bit more. And David, I see your hand.
Yeah, I would just make a comment. The library trustees had one for quite a while, okay, until I don't want to say he aged out of it, but he decided he didn't need to do it anymore. But it was very helpful having a citizen in there taking the minutes for us.
Right. I know schools committee used to have someone taking the minutes.
I've been doing
Well-
the minutes for the Board of Health.
Yeah,
Yeah, and there are still some people, I guess it's just a question of Ashley being aware that there's a position there. I'm not sure, but basically, but I'll let her address that.
Happy to. So it's continuous reach out to department heads and learning what they've identified as a need in their department. So if boards have a need for a secretary, please do let me know. It sounds as though the Council on Aging Board will be looking for a secretary, as I don't see anyone volunteering at the chance to take the minutes. I know it's challenging to do when you're part of a meeting, as well as keeping up on everything that's going on during it. So happy to find someone who would be a good fit and willing to take the minutes. When do you need someone? Is it for the
Well-
next meeting in June?
Well, we'll talk about that later. Let's just get
Okay.
through the article voting. So,
Sure.
but thank you. But it's a good, I'm glad you raised it, Ann Lee, because I had that in the back of my head anyway. So, thank you. Okay. So if we go back to the article itself, where do we stand on that? Are we through discussion? And everyone clear about how the amount is, the $80,000 was put down there, and it does get increased. It has over the years. So, and we don't know. I mean, I don't know the number of workers that are currently in the program, but I know in fiscal year 19, yeah. Was it 19? Anyway, the last figures we had, 132 workers worked. But they made and that covered enough people, made about almost $600 each towards their, real estate taxes. So it worked out. So, and that's something that Ashley would have to, determine. And if there were many more and money was really tight, then she would bring it to their attention, as Gary kind of said.
Madam Chair, I move that we vote on the affirmative for the senior tax abatement program.
Second for that motion?
Article
Second.
23.
Article 23, no, yes. David, were you seconding that too?
No, somebody else did. Somebody
I
else
did.
did it before me.
Who,
Anita did.
Anita?
Anita did it. Okay. You got that, Maureen? All right.
I do.
All right, roll call for Article 23. David?
Yes.
23. Mark?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Ann Lee?
Yes.
Anita?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
And Marge is a yes. Another unanimous vote, Maureen. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Only 2 more articles. We're getting there. Thank you.
Marge,
Yes, Susan.
as you're starting Article 24,
Yeah.
I respectfully suggest we just skip it.
Okay.
In terms of support or not.
I think so. Go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
In looking at the select board's agenda for tonight, there's a lot of things that are unanswered. Town council is weighed in. It's not cut and dry like it is on this.
You know, it's, yeah. I think that's a very good suggestion. It is a little confusing. I know that is the one article that at the last select board meeting, they hadn't agreed upon, and they're still trying to clarify it, which they probably will do tonight, but we don't know what we're gonna be voting on. So we don't know what the article is gonna read.
What
Correct?
article is that?
Article 24. It's the adjusted income and asset limits, and there's 2 different ways to adjust it. And the select board and the assessor, that they're working together to figure out which way they're going to go. So, and it's not clear yet, and I noticed it was on the agenda for tonight also. So I think we should skip over that. Are we all in
Okay.
agreement?
Yes.
Yes? Yep. Manley,
Yeah.
everybody's nodding their head. Okay, so we're gonna skip over that one. And the next one should be pretty easy. It's Article 11. And it's the, actually $30,000 is money's being given to various departments, and $30,000 is to be allocated to Elder and Human Services to support a bicycle and pedestrian master plan for a review of transportation issues, but not limited to bicycles, sidewalks, trails, etc. So that's a pretty cut and dried situation, but as long as we were doing the articles, it was included, because it is one that is, seniors are involved in.
Motion to support.
Second.
Who said that, David? Who said
Yep.
that? All right,
did.
and Maureen seconded.
Yes.
Any further any discussion on it? Hearing none, then we will do a vote. David?
Yes.
Okay, Mark,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Ann Lee,
Yes.
Anita,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
and Marge is a yes. All right. Well, my goodness sakes. We have met our time limit. And
We still
run
have
out of time. Actually, excuse me, Maureen?
I said we still have reports.
I know we do. So, but we've gotten through the major part of our business, and we do have reports, and we have to do those. So, we're moving on to the director's report. Ashley, you're on.
All right, so a look back of April happenings. So I had applied for a grant through the Friends of the Neshoba Valley to obtain tech equipment for hybrid programming, and I received a check last week for $500 for that purpose. I did some work with the TA's office for public recognition of National Older Americans Month, which is celebrated throughout the month of May, and the select board did adopt May as National Older Americans Month in Littleton during their April 26th select board meeting. We do have some programs specific to the theme of this year's month, which is Communities of Strength. One is encouraging residents to be part of a community-wide puzzle. And if people are interested in picking up a puzzle piece, please do call us. And pickup time is on Tuesday, May 18th from 2 to 3 out by the courtyard. And then we have a virtual program titled Share Your Story, scheduled on Wednesday, May 19th from 10 to 11 a.m. So more specifics of both of those programs, as well as all of our offerings in the monthly broadcaster, also available online. We had coordinated with Boxborough and Acton, part of a collaborators grant that we had applied for Chana 15, and we had a grab and go in celebration of Earth Day, and we had around 30 participants that picked up plants, and then the rest were distributed to the participants as part of the Meals on Wheels program. And thinking of the department and trying to continue to advertise the scope of services which we provide. I've been working closely with Marge on enhanced visibility outreach efforts. I also wanted to mention in my report, I had suggested that we are continuing to provide support to community members if they're having difficulty in booking a vaccination appointment. I did hear from Jim Gareffi, who is the Director of Public Health for Neshoba Board of Health, that their Devon's location was approved, and starting this Wednesday. So I'll just read the announcement here. Neshoba Associated Boards of Health would like to announce the opening of Neshoba Valley Devon's Regional Vaccine Collaborative on May 12th at the Clear Path for Veterans New England building at Devon's. And he gave a nice shout out to the efforts of the state representatives and senators who advocated on behalf of community members. And we look forward to providing a convenient location for vaccinations in the area. And then those wishing to schedule an appointment for vaccination can visit vaxfinder.mass.gov, search by local Board of Health clinic, and look for Clear Path for Veterans New England Devon site. So this is a huge accomplishment. I know Anthony and our town leaders really tried to advocate. So it's exciting to see how the launch is happening. And I know they are still looking for volunteers. So if you have clinical experience, to reach out to Jim Gareffi. And then if you wanted to help out administratively, let me know and I can pass along or send you to the contact who's organizing those volunteers. Our outreach department had luck in scheduling seniors for vaccine appointments. So if you know of anyone who's still struggling or having trouble navigating, please let us know and we'll certainly provide some assistance. So starting this month, we began offering outdoor program opportunities. This past Friday, we had a mindful meditation class at Long Lake Beach. Today started the Tai Chi program at Fay Park, and it was just great seeing participants, and I think people were excited to be there as well. What else is coming up? We have an informal book discussion with Amy Totten from the library this coming Thursday. Anita had given a shout out earlier for her 2 craft classes that she has scheduled out by the patio this coming Wednesday, and both of those classes are filled. So we have seen a good attendance in terms of people signing up and registering for the programs, which is exciting. And in addition to some outdoor offerings, we're continuing with the grab and go programs. We had the mystery bag program that's being offered twice a month. We had one today and another one scheduled on May 24th. And those are organized by Anne-Marie Chinosky, our social club leader. And the funding for those programs is through the Emerson Community Benefit Grant. And also, we have the virtual programming on LCTV and continued virtual ongoing support groups. I also wanted to give a shout out to transportation. We are continuing to operate in a limited capacity on Wednesdays and Fridays. And Nicole couldn't be with us today, but if people are in need of a ride when the bus is not presently running, we are asking people to reach out to her because we are looking to fulfill the need of transportation, and we will add additional days if the need increase. So please do reach out to her if you're watching and need a ride on the other days. I also wanted to mention that tonight I am on the select board's agenda for unsolicited gift acceptances. We received a donation from Christine Grimes for the TREAD program, tax relief for the elderly and the disabled. We received funds from the Friends of the Littleton Council on Aging to support our administration of the Springdale Senior Box Program, which our outreach department manages. And then lastly, we have him on the call today. Matthew Nordhaus had donated his stipend of being on the select board for the Littleton Coalition Against Addiction. So thank you to everyone who donates. We've been so fortunate in receiving so many donations from the community, and it's really remarkable. So thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Very comprehensive, and thank you, Matthew. That's very
Thank you,
generous of
Matthew.
you. Yes,
Yep, thank you.
very nice.
It's a good cause, and I'm happy to do it.
Well, thank you.
Matthew. Awesome.
Okay. I'm sorry, Gary, was that you?
I was just thanking Matthew. That's
Oh,
all.
okay. I thought, what a nice gesture. Very nice. Any questions for Ashley? Excuse me. Okay, Amy, you're on. Finally, huh? She's been sitting there forever.
All right, so our food pantry deliveries are continuing to be offered. In April, we delivered to 14 households. I received an email communication that some discussions around what changes may be occurring as the restrictions are lifted. So once we have more definitive information around that, we will be sharing that with the community. The bagged lunch program continues. The Rotary Club has been delivering those 2 times a week to the participants. And so it's a full week of breakfast and lunch for the residents that are participating. So they've been doing that, and that'll continue through June. not all the way to the end of June. I think it will be ending around the time that the school year ends. So we'll be getting that information out to people that are participating in the program. The fuel assistance and Good Neighbor Energy Fund programs are still going on. So fuel assistance is through SMOC. They're accepting applications until May 28th for the 2020-21 season. Good Neighbor Energy Fund is still accepting applications. That's through the Salvation Army. So if anybody is interested in those programs, they can give me a call and we can work on the application together, or I can share the information with them. LRAP and ERAP are still accepting applications. We have 7 active LRAPs and we have 8 active ERAP participants. The Child Care Subsidy Program is another one that's still going on. It's the program that's helping families with child care costs. There's currently 2 applications in process at this time. Anybody interested in applying for the rental assistance or child care program can reach out to me as well. The LGBTQ plus collaboration is still planning their next event. It will most likely be another coming out series. The event date hasn't been confirmed yet, but we're looking to schedule it for the middle of June. We also have the Pen Pal program that's been a hit. The residents and the high school students that are participating have really enjoyed it, and they're looking forward to the possibilities of meeting their pen pal. That's what I have.
Wonderful. You're busy as always, Amy. I am sure it has not slowed down at all. In fact, it's probably going to get even busier now once things are lightening and you're trying to continue to do both, all kinds of things. So, well, thank you both. Any questions for Amy?
Nope. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Ashley.
Both of you.
Madam Chair, I move we accept the report of the director and the outreach coordinator.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we accept the director's report and the outreach workers report. So let's go down the list again. David.
Aye.
Mark.
Yes.
Gary.
Yes.
Ann Lee.
Yes.
Anita.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Maureen.
Yes.
Marge is a yes.
Ashley.
All right.
Ashley had her hand raised, by the way.
I'm sorry, Ashley. Yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but we do have someone raising their hand.
Well, I haven't gotten down to that point yet. So
Okay, no problem. Thanks, Marge.
and we are out of time. We only have so much time. It's not like the select board meetings that can go on or planning board meetings that can go on. And we are way past our time. It's 3:17 and we already are running almost 20 minutes over. So if it's a comment that is related to the business that we have discussed and somebody can keep their comments to under 2 minutes, I will invite them to speak, but otherwise, and if it is not relative to what we've talked about, then they will be muted. So go ahead. I don't know who it is. Ashley, you have that.
They need to identify themselves and give their address.
Correct.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and bring,
Very quickly.
oh, sorry, Kim Mayo had her hand raised.
Well, hi, Kim. You have 2 minutes, roughly. We're over time. You probably heard me say. We need to end. Kim, can you hear us?
She's muted.
Hi, I think I'm coming on now. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. I've waited almost 2 hours patiently to speak and wanted to take the opportunity to address you as Littleton citizens who happen to be seniors.
Point of order. Point of order. What is Kimberly's address?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Sill. I forgot that's 14 Howard Ave, Littleton.
Thank you.
I just wanted to talk to you a little bit more about Littleton Station Village as citizens, and also who anyone might be listening, because it did feel very, the marketing felt very disingenuous as to me towards seniors, which is why I'm very passionate about it. I'm new to your town meetings, and I know this board is probably much more expert than I am. But I wanted to talk to you about Littleton Station Village because I've been following closely since March. And I've also formed an opposition group as well. I know Mrs. Melander said she watched the hearing, but if you haven't had a chance to watch the planning board hearing, please do so. It's full of dissension, deceit, and disorganization, and lots of yelling. Two planning board members admitted the project is not even viable without impact studies.
Kimberly, please, it has to be about our discussions, not about something else, please. And we didn't discuss the planning board meeting.
Well, I wanted to also talk to you about the Council on Aging. My grandmother lived at Pine Tree Apartments for many years. I have senior relatives in town, and when my Nana reached 95, we had big parties for her. So I also know Tina Mater and several other staff members. I do support your senior project. Maybe the Long family could help donate towards it if they're truly passionate about the seniors in town. I don't think it was mentioned by Mrs. Corey, but the rain date is going to be the following day for the town vote, which you guys already may be aware of. So I wanted to talk about some safety concerns, and I request an additional 2 minutes to really, I think since I've waited for 2 hours, would it be okay if I had, 3 minutes to really share my concerns? Does anyone have a problem with that?
Yes, I'm seeing people that have to go, and I know we are limited, and our meetings normally are over at 3:00, so we're way past.
Understood.
So,
Well, I'll go by this as quickly as I can and respectful of your time. Safety.
All right.
Would it be possible alternatively to email Marge and you could pass my comments along to the board? Would that be agreeable to everybody?
Yeah, that's possible. You can do that. Thank you, Kimberly, for being flexible.
How would I get your email addresses?
Just send it
to me.
Ashley.
I will send.
Board
I'll
members, I'll include my contact information, so you're certainly welcome to reach out to me. I wanted to address traffic and safety concerns, as well as a handful of others in bullet point summary for your review. Again, and I speak I'm a native, Littleton born and raised, senior grandmother, as well as senior family members in town, someone who truly is passionate and has no ulterior motive.
All right. Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion made. So moved.
Thank you.
Okay.
Everybody, don't speak too fast here. Okay, David.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Gary.
Yes.
Ann-Lee.
Yes.
Anita.
Yes.
Susan. Maureen.
Yes.
Yes, and yes. And Marge is a yes.
Matthew's a yes too, even though I'm not on the board.
Oh, thank you, Matthew. All